Up next, we had a Sami Zayn interview. Talks about Tyson Kidd finally showing his true colors and talks about how he's really just living off of his wife's success. And eventually he gets to the point that he just kind of says, this wasn't originally personal, but now I feel like I just need to embarrass him now.
I'm glad that Sami Zayn is being less nice. He seems to be getting a bit more biting in his criticisms of other people, which I really like a lot. He said, if this was when Tyson Kidd first came here, I would have been so excited. But now, like you said, I just want to embarrass him. This is great work from Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I mean, Zayn is, to me, Zayn and Daniel Bryan are the two only mature, reasonable human beings that are baby faces in the WWE today.
Right. Because with Cena, he fluctuates so violently between like the serious demeanor and the comedy, which I think is so painful. Adam Rose, I mean, don't even get me started. So like, it's hard to find that.
Sheamus, you've got to be kidding me.
Sheamus, you've got to be kidding me. So it's hard to find that babyface that can be likable, but also acknowledge the reality for what it is and get done business. And I feel like Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn in particular, since those are the examples you invoked, are absolutely terrific in that role. So
yeah, I can't think of anyone else who even fills that role anymore.
Exactly. So credit to Sami Zayn for getting the job done. I like these promos from him lately, kind of getting fed up with all the crap and taking care of business. And we get to his match with Tyson Kidd later in the night. So that's all.
Yeah, and that's another thing about Sami Zayn. I just can't imagine him ever being a heel, ever.
Yeah, I know I said the same thing about Dean Ambrose. I can never imagine him being a face, and he proved me wrong. But with Sami Zayn, the thing is, I wouldn't even really want him to experiment with it. I wouldn't. Yeah. I'd be very protective of it, very wary of it. A lot like when somebody told me, "Oh, Alberto Del Rio is going to go face," and I was like, "What?"
I mean, and then that's kind of the thing, though. Like people talk about, oh, the WWE has their next Rey Mysterio. They have this Kalisto guy. Why do you have to have a Mexican guy with a mask on in order to replicate what Rey Mysterio was? To me, Sami Zayn stands for everything that Rey Mysterio stood for 15 years ago. He is that purebred babyface, and 15 years ago might be an overestimation because I think he was still in WCW then, and he might have actually been a heel at that point. But you get the point. He was never a heel in WWE. He was a heel with the Filthy Animals very briefly in WCW. It didn't last long. And it was actually when he had his mask off, too, which was, again, so stupid. But to me, Sami Zayn today stands for what Rey Mysterio stood for when he first got to the WWE. He's exciting. He's likable. He's kind of a cornball, but that's just because he's such a nice person. And I honestly feel like if you want to replicate the kind of financial success, and I say that because it's referring to the masks and the t-shirts and the appealing to kids, all that stuff that you had with Mysterio, you don't need a Mexican dude to wear a mask or even wrestle the lucha style. It doesn't need to be Rey Mysterio 2.0. It can just be like a spiritual successor, and I think Sami Zayn can fill that role. Now, granted, Kalisto is a much more literal translation of the spiritual successor to Rey Mysterio, but I don't understand why the WWE is passing up the opportunity to make absolute bank with Sami Zayn, because everyone's going to love him when he gets called up, and they've been waiting so freaking long.
We've waited a long time, and I really hope that his debut isn't some kind of a whimper of like a squash match. It probably will be, and let's be honest, I'll just be stoked for him being there, but I'd like to see him make a little bit of a splash on his debut.
I already told you, dude, I want him to debut at Battleground and win the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal so that we can get immediately into a feud with him and Cesaro.
That would be brilliant. I'd love every matchup those two would have together, and can you imagine what that would do for the stock of the IC title? Good God.
Right.
Its reputation is like that elevator, that stepping stone, that wrestling championship, which I feel like the United States title has taken that mantle. I mean, you go from Dean Ambrose to freaking Sheamus as the champion. The IC championship can make a great case of taking that torch back with a feud like that between Zayn and Cesaro. And the thing is, what's so great about Sami Zayn is that I think he's so versatile from a marketing standpoint, because if you wanted him to come in just as Sami Zayn, merchandise would be crazy. If you wanted to maybe reinvent him a little bit and put a mask on him so you could start selling Sami Zayn masks, that would work as well. I think he's just one giant marketing tool just waiting to really be unleashed. I think WWE, like you said, could make big bank. I wholeheartedly agree with you if you get Sami Zayn on your main roster product. I don't know why they haven't already. He probably should have debuted at least a year ago. I feel like it's taken a long time for him to get here.
I don't think he was even with the WWE a year ago, but I do agree that it has been way too long.
Yeah, I mean, that's really my point. I really don't know when he first came in, but I didn't think he'd be in the system as long as he has been in it, is my point. And dude, I would hope at least, and that's still a long ways away, I would hope it wouldn't even come to that, but if WWE is really going to drag this out, no later than the Raw after WrestleMania 31. No later. It would get ridiculous at that point. I hate to even go that far, and I hope he debuts before then, but you never even know with the WWE anymore, so I'm saying that's a worst case, and it better happen by then if it hasn't happened beforehand, because that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's just way too late, but I do agree that if it's any time after that, it's just unacceptable.
Definitely.
All right, so up next, we did indeed have Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. And before we talk about the match, I just want to make one comment. Alexa Bliss is an AJ Lee-sized version of Kelly Kelly.
Yeah. Not really more I can add to that. She did a screen-and-screen promo. It pretty much had a rhyming thing going on.
Yep.
You felt the sting of my bling, my hand in victory, BFFs weren't even by your side. And then the last thing she ends up with, or that she says, is that last time you underestimated me because I was small and nice, but tonight you're all going to see that lightning can strike twice. And she gives a little smile. My problem with Alexa Bliss since day one comes in, two fronts. One, and I told you this from her debut, her babyface act seems so fake to me.
Yeah.
I think there is something about Alexa Bliss that I feel like if we tap into a heel turn, but then again, I was saying the same thing about Jack Swagger as a babyface, and so far it's been great, but I would attribute that more to Coulter than Swagger. So, I've said, Swagger should turn face, so now I'm saying Alexa Bliss should turn heel. But the second thing is, her moveset to me is just so boring. She does the same moves. Like, I could pretty much telegraph an Alexa Bliss matchup at this point. She really is reliant on that Hurricane Rana into the cradle, does a lot of drop kicks, and I love the aerial wrestlers, the high flyers, but she's got to be one of the most limited ones I've ever seen. Like, I'm really just very unimpressed.
Well, I mean, you know what, though, dude? She did attempt a 450 today, and she would have hit it if it wasn't for Sasha moving, but she still landed on her feet and rolled through it.
I have to continue there, too, though. Because that's not the first time she's done that. She's done that exact same maneuver over and over. I don't even think it's meant to be a 450. I think it's just meant to be a maneuver like, look at me, get into position for something else significantly weaker than what I could have gone for had I used some foresight.
Oh.
She's just extremely limited. I wish she would have a 450.
I read someone on Reddit said that she does and that he just wants to see it. So
I'm right there with her. I used to hear that Jillian Hall could do that maneuver, and I'm like, well, why isn't she? That sounds amazing. And I know
because they're women and they don't know how to do that kind of stuff.
But see, I don't think NXT, or at least I'd like to believe, they don't possess that mentality, because look at what they've had their women do, especially like Emma and Paige, some of their earliest success stories. Well,
that's
especially
true.
Paige.
Yeah, I should take that back. I apologize. I'm just like.
I can see why you said it, though, because
I feel like I just have this constant rage because I realize that Kevin Dunn isn't going to go away until Vince either gives the company up to Triple H, which he won't do, or until he dies, which is going to be in another 30 years because Vince is so freaking healthy. He's been a freaking power lifter for so long, and he's going to last forever.
And dude, I hate to be that guy and border on silliness, but he's filthy rich as well, so God knows the medical treatments and everything he's has access to, and what our technology will be years later. I mean, quality of life is constantly changing. That's why I'm phrasing this seriously. I'm not going to go into the route of pseudoscience, but with that, Vince is probably going to be around a long time, which he should be. I mean, that's a very morbid thing to think about. I do want him to step down and give it over. I don't want to have to think, when Vince dies, things get better, because he's got a family and everything. But it's just Kevin Dunn and Vince. I think, especially on the main roster, they have this mentality that women have a place, and it's whatever. I heard Nikki Bella, who I wish other women would talk about this. She shouldn't be the representative, but I digress. Talking about how she would love the prospect of a Divas match main eventing a pay-per-view. Honestly, with some of the talent we have, I'd love that too, but it's not going to happen. I don't even think it'll happen when Triple H is in charge, because I think even he isn't that idealistic. But the least you can do is afford these women a platform where they can go all out and show themselves to be just as, if not more capable than the men. Because Jericho said it best, if the women are outperforming them, then they're doing something wrong, not you. And yeah, I want to see that 450 from Alexa Bliss. What we did get to see, however, was amazingness from Sasha Banks. 1 point in the matchup, she gets Alexa Bliss in sidewalk slam position. She sandwiches her between the two turnbuckles, like the top rope and the middle buckle, and she goes up to the top rope and drives both of her knees into Alexa Bliss's midsection. Dude, Sasha Banks is vicious.
Yeah, and you know what though, dude? Here's the thing: you talk about Alexa Bliss having a repetitive moveset, but you're not calling Sasha Banks out on it. She's done that multiple times before as well.
But I feel like she spaces that out, because she has done that multiple times before, but I haven't seen her do that every match. It's been a while since I've seen her do that maneuver. So
your point is less varied moveset and more having the same match over and over again.
And I feel like with Alexa Bliss, it is kind of both. I don't really know how many moves she does know, but if she knows more, please bring them out. Look, everybody's going to have a common core to their moveset. We call it John Cena's 5 moves of doom, but everybody has them. Everybody has their calling cards in every match. That's fine. But space out when you do them, for one, and two, just always just kind of spice your matches up. Sasha Banks had starved herself off from using that maneuver in her last few matches, brings it back here, gets a great reaction from me because I think it looks brutal. So that's how you take care of business.
And that's not the only way that Sasha Banks took care of business tonight, because, you talk about her driving both knees into a body part of Alexa Bliss. Well, she did it again later, but this time it was her back. She hits the backstabber and rolls through seamlessly into a crossface, which it's really the crippler crossface without the arm trap is what it is. But
exactly.
Another way of describing it, you could call it a modified camel clutch, because that's effectively what the move is doing, is what the camel clutch does. You're pulling their neck and head back towards their feet, which is exactly the same thing the camel clutch does, but the difference is, rather than sitting on them, you're leaning on them with your upper body rather than your lower body.
And what makes this combination so ingenious, first of all, is that it is a combo. And Ashton here, when me and him were discussing NXT, because we had a pretty lively discussion before recording, he made up an excellent point to me. And he said that it seems like NXT talents in particular are starting to use combos for finishing maneuvers, because he said that maybe he believes that WWE writers or somebody has recognized how popular they are in the video game genre. And they're starting to incorporate that in the in-ring product. And I have to agree with him here, because this is the first of 2 combos we've seen. The second we'll get to later.
Here's the thing, dude. I know that this number isn't massive by any means relative to the WWE's audience, but this past weekend there was a massive fighting game tournament called EVO 2014, or Evolution 2014. And I am a huge fan of the competitive Smash Brothers Melee scene. And at its peak on Sunday, they had over 220,000 viewers watching this live on twitch.tv. So just to give you an idea, and that's probably not even the most popular fighting game. And matter of fact, I almost guarantee that it's not the most popular fighting game. But it just goes to show you that there are niche audiences out there that you don't really need to change that much about your programming to harness, but they are out there for you to go after.
Exactly. And to bring the focus back to the matchup, what I liked about this combo in particular is that you called it a modified camel clutch, that I think is an apt description, even though it kind of has the form of a crossface save the arm trap. But the best part...
and even Chris Benoit would have told you when he was alive, he would have told you that his move, the only reason he did the arm trap was so that they couldn't fight out of it. It's not like the crippler crossface was a move that was meant to be effective on the shoulder, just like the way people always sell the figure 4 leg lock wrong. It's not the leg that's bent that is supposed to be hurting. It's the straight leg that gets hurt in that move. Just like with the crippler crossface, the thing that hurts isn't your freaking shoulder. It's your back and neck, because that's what's getting bent.
Exactly. And what's so brilliant about the backstabber that precedes it is that kind of drives the air out of your opponent, in my mind.
Well, and then, dude, and that's the thing. The submission move that she uses is a back-based submission. So that's psychology times 100.
And coming from a women's wrestler. So anybody who thinks that women have a certain ceiling or whatever, you watch Sasha Banks go to work with those 2 maneuvers, and she highlights a more profound psychology than I think most of our male performers do.
Yeah.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yep.
And, dude, I'm telling you, the BFF's breaking up. I think who comes out the real bandit here? I will say Sasha freaking Banks, because now she's going to really be able to cultivate her singles career as the boss. I fully expect her and Charlotte to collide at one point. I think the hierarchy is going to go, it's going to go Summer, Sasha, and then Bayley is where she's going to drop the belt.
I agree 100%.
And to me, Summer is going to have a great match with Charlotte. I am confident. But it is Sasha and Charlotte that I am chomping at the bit for. I have to be honest.
I could see them getting the Divas spot at the next 2-hour live special.
I hope they do. Because nothing against Bayley. I really feel like she's coming to her own. I love her. The crowd loves her. She's probably one of the top baby faces when she's on the program. But I'm definitely looking far more forward to Sasha and Charlotte than Charlotte and Bayley.
Yep.
Sasha's amazing. Even if she doesn't win the NXT Women's Championship in her time there, I just want to see her get to the main roster sometime. I'd say either this year or in the middle of next year, and just get in the mix right away, because she is just wonderful.